All right, so just so there's no plagiarism on this, shout out to Aline Barros, November 6, 2024. Listen, this is what to expect on immigration under a new Donald Trump administration. It's funny to me that a lot of people, Hispanic in particular, voted for Donald Trump, and now his immigration policies seem like they are aimed squarely at that community who will feel the brunt of this mass deportation, the biggest the United States have ever seen, as he has promised, and now they are shaking in their boots, nervous after they gave power to what is to come. Said it on a previous video, I'll be sitting back and I'll be enjoying the show, with some popcorn and something nice to drink, because you should have done your research a little bit better. Or maybe it was racism that allowed you to not want to see a black woman in power, so you would rather vote for Donald Trump and then hope that he doesn't do what he plainly told you he was going to do. Check this out. President-elect Donald Trump has put immigration at the forefront of his campaign agenda, right? Right. And he has pledged to bring what he calls unprecedented order to the southern border and launch the nation's largest mass deportation operation of undocumented immigrants on his first day in office. He's already said, first day in office, deportation starts. That's not too far away. Now, throughout his campaign, while he was running for office, Trump called immigration situation in America a crisis, and he vowed to move swiftly to implement a series of controversial policies to clamp down on illegal immigration and to curb new arrivals. Of course, though, there are those who, attorneys, other people in government, who are vowing that they will fight him. But fight him how? I want you to think about how you think they're going to fight him. Laws are not written by the president. He can request something and it has to go through a channel. Now, if you have everybody in each channel it has to go through on your side, ready to do your bid, the House, the Senate, the presidency, it's a wrap. Just consider it going through, gone through. I believe that most of what Donald Trump says he's going to do in immigration is going to be done. However, managing the re-entry of possible millions of people presents formidable legal and logistical challenges. Nobody cares about re-entry once you go out. I don't know why people think, okay, if you're illegal in the United States of America, it's best to get deported or self-deport and then you'll come back the other way. If your country has any inclination that you had been in the U.S. illegal before, it is almost impossible for you to make it back in legally. Just ask anybody. And if you have been deported, it is almost impossible to make it back in legally. And people know this. This is the reason why when a lot of people say, just go back to where you come from and then do it the legal way, most people know it's hard. Now, this is why they rather stay in place while they're here, run around, hide, wait out an administration, hope for a new administration that's more immigrant friendly. They would rather do anything else than actually go back to where they come from and try to reapply to get back in the U.S. Now, there's this belief that there's a line of people that should stand in line. Sometimes there's not a line, says Mark Hetfield, the CEO of the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. A Migration Policy Institute report makes the same point, saying that there are multiple visa pathways, each with distinct backlogs and wait times, governing how long individuals wait for permanent residency. Annual limits and country quotas, those too create extensive delays, with some applicants facing waits that last decades. If you're from Jamaica or any of those other places outside of the United States of America, you know somebody who has been applying for a visa for decades. Literally 20 years of trying to apply for a visa, and every time you applied, you got turned down. And this person is not a criminal. This person just is not getting approved, right? You have some who it's been years. They applied 3, 4, 5, 6 times over a 10, 15-year period before they finally got it. Now, many undocumented immigrants may have no way to join these lines that people are sending them back to. Get back home and join the line. There are people who are already trying to do it the legal way, who's been on that line that you speak of for 10, 15, 20 years. So these people you're telling to leave and go join a line, they already know that if ever it comes through for them, it'll be about 15, 20 years from now. Join the lines because of restrictive re-entry policies. There are restrictive re-entry policies. The 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act blocks re-entry for immigrants with a history of unlawful presence in the United States of America. If they leave and they want to re-enter legally, those with more than 180 days but less than 1 year of unlawful presence, they face a 3-year re-entry ban at a minimum. So first of all, and those with more than 1 year of unlawful presence, they face a 10 years ban at a minimum. Let me say that again. The 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act. You can look this up. Look up what is the 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act. It blocks re-entry for immigrants with a history of unlawful presence in the United States of America. Now, if they leave and they want to re-enter legally, leaving as in not being deported, self-deport like people are telling them to do, just go out and come back legally. Easier said than done, because those who were in the U.S. for more than 180 days but less than 1 year of unlawful presence, once they get back to their country, they automatically have a ban of 3 years before they can even try to apply for a visa again. And then there's a stigma in the system and the backlog where thousands of people have already applied and are waiting online. So they'll put them to the back of that line, which brings them back to years and years and years of waiting. Then you have those under this same 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act. Those who are here in the U.S. illegally for more than a year of unlawful presence, they automatically face 10 years ban once they get back to their own country. And that's 10 years before you could even try to apply for a visa. Unlawful presence generally includes overstaying or entering without permission or entering without inspection. So you came in on a boat that washed up on the damn beaches in Miami and you just ran ashore and then started living your life, you're under this list. If you came in on a visa and then your visa expired and you just decided to stay, I don't know, maybe you came as an athlete to represent your country. Maybe you came on a work visa or a student visa and you decided, I'm not going back, I'm just going to stay and make life here. You fall in this category as well, right? So it's not just the people who illegally entered or who walked in across the border the other day when it was happening. It's all of you. That's something to think about. For a lot of people, that's something to think about. Now, Donald Trump has vowed to surpass deportation numbers from his first term. And he said that this will be the biggest the United States of America has ever seen. He is currently putting in place all the people who will make this happen. This is his first order of business. He has already been drafting it up and gearing up and getting prepared to get it popping on day one. Now, with plans to use the National Guard to round up undocumented immigrants. Yes, the National Guard. Those are soldiers. The National Guard, that's our military. This is our domestic arm of our military, if you will put it that way. With plans to use the National Guard to round up undocumented immigrants, Donald Trump has also invoked what's called the Alien Enemies Act. So listen, first I told you about the 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act. I tell you these things because I want you to look them up on your own time and go educate yourself, right? So with plans now to use the National Guard to round up undocumented immigrants, Donald Trump has also invoked the Alien Enemies Act. I want you to look up the Alien Enemies Act, but I'll tell you what it is while you're here. The Alien Enemies Act is a 18th century law that allows the president to deport non-citizens from nations deemed hostile to the United States. Notice I said non-citizens. Non-citizens mean you're a green card holder or you are on some type of a visa that allows you to be in the United States of America, whether that is to work, live and work here temporarily, etc. You fall under this Aliens Enemies Act. You can be deported from the United States of America, and Donald Trump has planned to invoke this Alien Enemies Act. Now, of course, a lot of people hear this and they're thinking, well, damn, what are the places that are deemed hostile to the United States of America? Well, maybe you're not from some of these places, but I'll give you a list, right? Countries of particular concern that were designations that were made by the Secretary of State back in December 29th of 2023. The most recent list adds countries like Burma, the People's Republic of China, Cuba, Eritrea, Iran, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Nicaragua, Pakistan, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. Now, there's a special list. This is the most recent special list designations that were made by the Secretary of State on December 29th of 2023. You have Algeria, Azerbaijan, the Central African Republic, Comoros, and Vietnam. And then, of course, you might say, I don't know anybody from Burma. I don't know anybody from Korea. I don't know anybody from Nicaragua, Pakistan. Russia is on the list. Russia is on the list. So Russian Americans or Russian people living in the U.S. under a green card or any kind of visa that allows them to be here could easily be deported, right? So can Cubans. And in Miami, Florida, there's a large population of Cubans that are super Donald Trump supporters. So it's interesting to see that based on this, which they do fall under because their country was recently put on the list, the Aliens Enemies Act, they stand to be deported too. Now, Trump aims to drastically reduce the undocumented population, which is cool, right? something that his supporters see as a step towards restoring order. Because you can't just have a whole bunch of undocumented people running around. People committing crimes, you can't trace them. You don't know where they're from, how they came here, nothing. They're like ghosts living around you. Although opponents argue that this will lead to legal battles because people are planning to fight him in a court of law, which I don't think it's going to be too effective. And it will also lead to logistical hurdles. Let's talk about all those. So Jeremy Robbins, the executive director of the American Immigration Council, he wrote in an email to VOA that should any president choose to pursue mass deportation, it would come at an extraordinary cost to the government while also devastating the economy. This is just his take on it. He said that it's critical that policymakers and the American public understand what this would involve. Tens of billions of taxpayers' dollars, already strained industries devastated, millions of people locked up in detention, and thousands of families torn apart, causing widespread terror and chaos in communities across the country. That is what it's going to look like if Donald Trump pursues this mass deportation. Can I tell you something? His supporters don't care. So when you start talking about families torn apart, and when you start talking about widespread terror and chaos in communities, they don't care about all that. They have not one care. They are ready for it all to happen. It's not going to happen to them. They're born Americans who will be staying here regardless. So whether you voted for him or not, if you fall into any of these categories, you are a target. Now, there was a program that was called the Remain in Mexico program. That program initiated in the first Trump administration, the Remain in Mexico program. And it's expected to be renewed this soon as this immigration policy starts. I'm sorry, I gotta laugh. The Remain in Mexico program. That policy forces migrants who are seeking asylum to wait in Mexico while their cases are processed. This is not just for Mexicans. Everybody knows that a lot of different countries were using Mexico's borders to come into the United States of America. We saw it when they put cameras on the border. We saw Chinese people coming in through Mexico. We saw people from Africa coming in through Mexico. We saw people from many different countries around the world coming in through Mexico. Of course, the United States of America is that land of hope and opportunity, and a lot of people want to come see what it's about. That was a point of entry. So the Remain in Mexico program, don't get it twisted, it's not geared or aimed at Mexicans specifically. It simply means that this policy forces those migrants you see crossing over into the U.S. seeking asylum to have to wait in Mexico. Since the Mexican government wants to free up their country and allow people to use it to pass over into the U.S., Donald Trump said, nope, keep their asses right there in Mexico. So while their cases are being processed, they will not be allowed into the U.S., as opposed to them coming into the U.S., filing papers for asylum, and then being put on a wait list while they sit here. And then some of them even run off because they're like, well, they'll probably deny me, so I'm not taking my chances. I'm running away from New York. I'm heading to Miami to start my life, kind of thing. So instead of going through all that, keep them in Mexico while we process their paperwork. Give them the good news or bad news in Mexico. If you're still in Mexico and we say come across the border, it's fine. You can come on in. If you're still in Mexico and you get the news that says you've been denied, then you turn around and go back where you're from Mexico. Also, this policy, the Remain in Mexico policy, is expected to be renewed. And it's a policy to quickly expel migrants and curb the immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border. Another central promise that Trump made during his presidential campaign is to roll back initiatives under the Biden administration that allowed specific groups of migrants to enter the U.S. legally. He's about to cut that out. So under Biden, right, up to 30,000 migrants per month from 4 countries, which were Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. They were allowed to come to the U.S. legally if they met certain conditions. Legally. That's legally. Donald Trump has pledged to end these pathways. So Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela will immediately be affected. In an effort to intensify scrutiny of those entering the U.S., Donald Trump has promised to renew and expand, make bigger travel bans that are aimed at a broader list of countries, and to introduce what's called an ideological screening to bar individuals whom Donald Trump himself describes as dangerous lunatics, haters, bigots, and maniacs. So that's just self-explanatory, right? If they find any one of these issues with you, you're not going to be able to come in, or you're going to be leaving if you're already here. Trump's campaign says that this measure will enhance national security, though it has sparked concerns over discrimination and civil liberties. Donald Trump also said that he plans to end birthright citizenship for children who were born in the USA to parents who are in the USA illegally. He believes that if you are a U.S. citizen at birth, it should only be because one of or both of your parents are actually citizens. But if your mama and your daddy are illegal immigrants, you should not be considered a U.S. citizen even if you were born in the United States of America. Now, this would require a reinterpretation of the 14th Amendment and is expected to face some intense legal challenges along the way. However, we're talking about Donald Trump, and we're talking about all the support he has now in the House, in the Senate. We're talking about the possibility of this being very, very real. Now, while Donald Trump's immigration plan have the support of his base, they face some steep opposition from advocacy groups and legal experts who argue that mass deportation and travel bans could lead to human rights violations and extensive court challenges. They're planning to challenge him along the way, but like I said, I don't see the challenge being a problem. Hetfield of the HIAS said that advocates are concerned about what a new Donald Trump administration will do to legal immigration, not illegal, legal immigration. We will likely litigate if he tries to close down the refugee program and oversteps. But the bottom line is, the president has a lot of discretion when it comes to the refugee program. And for asylum, he's going to make it impossible to apply at the border, as he did with the Title 42. Go look up Title 42 and his Remain in Mexico policies. Michelle Ming, who is the political director of United We Dream, which is the nation's largest immigrant youth-led organization, said that they will be ready to protect immigrant families. Well, the Trump administration is ready for you too. Ming anticipates a significant amount of Know Your Rights events throughout Trump's second term in the White House. Now, once Donald Trump takes office, Ming said, we're going to remind him that we are here to fight back against any kind of policy that he tries to implement to hurt our communities. Donald Trump has already said he don't give a damn. And the people he is putting in place to handle this, they don't give a damn either. Okay, so you can say you're gonna fight this, that, and the other all you want to, but former Immigration and Customs Enforcement Deputy Director Thomas D. Homan will show you guys that he does not give a damn about all of that, what you have to say. The agenda is on the table, it's real, and they're about to go to work. So, this is in a nutshell what to expect for the next 4 years under Donald Trump administration when it comes to immigration. Are you afraid, or are you scared for your family members, relatives, friends, or are you unaffected and you will be sitting on the sidelines watching this unfold? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one, and I'll catch you on the next video. It's SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace.